Overcoming the Pain of Emotional Hurt, posted on May 30th, 2011. Only the ego gets hurt. If you're feeling hurt and in pain right now, you may feel angered to read that the part in you that's feeling hurt is actually a false self. I'm sorry, but I'm a truth guy, not a feel-good guy. I'm interested in seeing the truth in every situation, and I'm the least interested in trying to soothe the ego with kind words of sympathy or empathy. It's a paradox that when you look to see the truth in every situation, you permanently become free of all hurt and suffering. But if your primary motivation is just to feel good for the moment, then you're no different from a junkie who takes a shot for momentary relief. When you're suffering, it's the best time to see the truth. They say that suffering is a great teacher if you allow it to teach you. Instead of just looking for a feel-good solution to push away the suffering, I would invite you to look deeply at what suffering really is. Ask yourself, what in me is really suffering right now? You will notice that it's not your hands, legs, nose, or eyes that are suffering. The actual suffering seems to come from a psychological construct rather than a physical construct. The ego is a psychological construct. It's a story. It's a false self. It's an image created in the mind which is diluted into looking at itself as a separate entity. The suffering or the emotional hurt is felt viscerally in the body. It feels like a congestion or contraction. In truth, suffering is just resistance created by a thought form, a negative thought, towards the flow of life. When you're feeling hurt, you are usually harboring thoughts of resentment, anger, unfairness, inferiority, guilt, or spite. All these thoughts are inherently rooted in negativity and are disconnected from the energy of life, which is always positive. Only the ego is capable of creating negative thoughts by interpreting reality in a negative manner. These negative thoughts, or negative energy, are creating a resistance against the movement of life, positive energy. And this conflict is what is felt in the body as the clash between two energy movements. The only way to be free of the pain created by the emotional hurt is to let go of the entity that is harboring hurt in the first place. Let go of the ego that is feeling hurt, that is feeling unfairly treated. It's only an interpretation of the mind. The ego does not want to let go of its negative thoughts because it feels defeated in doing so, but it's your choice. Do you want to suffer, or would you rather let go of the ego? Defeat for the ego is an opening for your true nature. Trying to soothe the ego is just a temporary fix. You can, of course, look for ways to soothe the ego's hurt. You can take drugs, take alcohol, watch TV, eat happy food, vent your anger, throw a tantrum, or whatever else feels like a quick fix solution to making the ego feel good about itself again. Understand that this ego will find reasons to get hurt again, and you'll have to go through this same cycle all over again, the cycle of suffering. The only way to get off the cycle of suffering is to stop entertaining the ego and see that all hurt only stems from a story in the mind. Who you are, pure consciousness, is not hurt. It does not feel bad. It does not harbor anger. The energy that you are is pure positive energy. The only way you can come back to your true nature of being, this pure positive energy, is to let go of the ego. If the ego gets hurt, it's a good thing. Allow it to get deconstructed. The ego will always live in fear. And if you don't let go of the ego, the experience of fear and hurt is what will dominate your consciousness. Emotional hurt can create a hole in the ego. There's a blessing hidden in the emotional hurt that you're feeling right now. This hurt has the capacity to create a blow to the ego, which creates a crack in its hard shell. This crack can be the opening through which your true nature, as pure positive energy, can shine through. Let the ego crack open so that what lies beneath it can shine through. You will find yourself as your true self when the shell of the ego breaks open. Many people have experienced the feeling of absolute peace and joy in the midst of great suffering when the ego suddenly gave way and surrendered. They are not able to describe where the peace and joy came from because they don't realize that it was always present below the hard shell created by the ego. This peace and joy is the energy of life itself, of who you really are. So welcome the emotional hurt and see it as a blessing in disguise to help you become free of your ego shell.